So I'm 6'5", 270 pounds, and I am a distance runner. Sounds pretty crazy. Stay tuned. I'll tell you more. Welcome to the Balance Blade, where strength, resilience, and leadership sharpen our edge. Together, we are forged in the blade. We lead with edge. Let's cut through the noise and grow stronger together. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Drop a comment below, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. I was never a runner. In fact, I can remember sometime in mid-November of 2024 saying to somebody something along the lines of, I've run 20 miles in the past 35 years, and 18 of them were this month or this week or something like that. Running was not in my plan. I am a part of a early morning men's workout group called F3, and I'll drop some information about that below. If you are looking to accelerate yourself and up your level, I'd highly suggest you check that out. And one of the things that this organization does, they have various boot camps, run clubs, ruck clubs, etc. And I had done one brief run club, and it was in the middle of July, and I went out and I ran about a mile and a half. And it took me probably about 11 to 12 minutes to run the first mile, but then that second half mile was absolutely brutal. But I did it and received a lot of positive encouragement and affirmation for doing it. But it was a challenge. And like a lot of people, I would say, "Oh, I'm not a runner. I'm too big to run. I can't run fast enough to where I won't hurt myself." That one, we'll figure that one out in a little bit. But um, here's the thing with running. It's not just physical, it's mental, it's transformative. And there are so many things that running does for you beyond just what it does for you physically. And so the first thing that I had to deal with when trying to become a runner is that I'm not built like a runner. I'm a large person. I'm overweight a little bit, and I'm working on that. And I have probably feet that aren't as big for somebody of my height. I'm about 6'5", and I wear a size 12 or 13, depending on the shoe. And my legs are pretty strong from doing martial arts. I would say my legs are a little stronger than the average person who's not a runner. But, they had doubts about the endurance, about the pace, about whether or not I could keep up. There were gentlemen going out for what we call EC runs or extra credit runs and doing so about 35 minutes before the start of the workout and basically running at about a 10-minute pace, which to a non-runner doesn't seem very fast. But if you are running, that's a pretty good sort of cruise pace for an average to above average runner. And for me, that's a fairly quick pace. And so I sort of had to reconcile what I was going to be able to do to start out. And then I just had to go do it. When you go out and you run, you are getting small wins along the way. You get that first mile in. And I use an app called Runna, which I'll link in the description below. And that app connects to your earpiece, which will tell you your pace. It'll tell you how fast you ran that previous mile. And when you get that 1 mile in, last mile at whatever the timing is, there's a sense of victory in that, because running a mile is no insignificant feat. It's something that I would say a large majority of the population, I think somebody said, if you running regularly, you are doing more than 95% of the population, or something along those lines. How many people do you know could go out and run a mile in 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes right now? Not very many, but I'm one of them. And so that's a victory. And pushing past a little bit of discomfort, that first discomfort that you get, that's going to come from up here. But you might find soreness in your hips, soreness in your legs, and it's a feeling that maybe you haven't had before, and you have to push past it initially. There's a difference between discomfort and pain. I tell my kids this all the time because my daughter's 7 and my son is 11. And when they experience discomfort, like having their nails clipped, they will react as if they're in pain when really all that they're experiencing is some discomfort. And so the other thing is you have to do it with some sort of regularity. If it's super cold and you don't want to go out, but I started really running seriously like November, December, and have been running more seriously through January into February. And it's been very, very cold. And I plan my runs and I plan my rest, but you have to just keep stacking it on top of the other habits that you might be trying to build, and eventually you'll get something positive out of it. I talk in a shorter video that I made previously about that one moment that sort of keeps you coming back. And for me, it was the half marathon that I ran back in November of 2024. And here's what was special about that is that I was part of a group within my men's workout organization, and we had a group chat, and somebody said, "We're going to do a half marathon on such and such day," and I sort of instinctively replied, "Oh, I can't do that. I didn't say I'll never be able to do it, but I did say I wasn't able to do it then." And somebody who I have a ton of respect for, a guy who is kind of known for pushing me, said, "Well, how do you know? Have you ever tried?" And I said, "Well, no, I guess I haven't tried." He said, "Well, then you should try." So I did. And I ran it in under 3 hours, and I ran it at about a 13-minute mile pace. And there was a good chunk of that was walking. But the moment that I remember was probably in about the third mile. And the weather was pretty nice that day. I lucked out, got a great day. And I just remember looking around and thinking, man, I got a few more hours of this, maybe a couple more hours, and nobody's going to bother me. And it's just me. And I'm just running. I was running with a buddy. Shout out to my buddy Hanger, Mike Hudson, who ran that with me. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for doing that. It was great. And I know he would say the same to me. But there was just a freedom to it. Like nothing was going to bother me for that period of time. And it wasn't a runner's high. I know people talk about that, and I can attest to that. But it was just a feeling of freedom. And there's other things that I do when I run, and I'll talk about that. But I felt free when I was about a mile, three-quarters of a mile from the end, and I knew that I could make it in under 3 hours, and I just sprinted and got back to the end. And then when I got there, I felt that sense of accomplishment. There was a lot of pride, but more importantly, motivation to keep going. And so since that time, I've run between 10 and 20 miles a week, broken up into between 3 and 5 runs. And what's beautiful about it is that you can set these goals to try to get these personal bests. But for example, I'm running a 5 mile race next weekend. It's the first weekend in February 2025 right now. I've got a 5 mile race in Shanahan, Illinois next Saturday. And I've been training for that since December. And then after that, I'm doing a 10K. And I actually ran a 10K, not a race, but just as part of my training last weekend. And it was good. It was good. I was able to do it, and I was able to do it without stopping or walking really. And so I've got one of those the end of May, and I signed up for the half marathon in Naperville, Illinois in the middle of October. And I think what's so key about that is that these are spread out enough that it gives me measurable time bound benchmarks to shoot for. And yeah, I have time goals, but I think just the training, the journey to them is a big, big part of that. And, I think my two bigger goals down the line is I'd like to run in the Chicago Marathon in 2026. I know that my time would not get me in, but I could get in via a charity. And I would like to do the Dopey Challenge at Disney, where you do a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and a marathon on 4 consecutive days. And just based on how I felt after the half marathon I did previously, that would certainly be a challenge. But, the bottom line, this was never on my 2024 bingo card, but here I am. There's plenty of resources on YouTube to get into the nuts and bolts of running. And I'm not even trying to get you to be a runner. I'm just telling you about my experience. Now, if you want to be a runner, I can link a few resources. Like I said, the Runner app, Strava, these are the standard things that people use. I'll tell you about the shoes that I wear, etc. But just a couple of things, a couple of metaphors that I think are great when it comes to running and as it pertains to life and, of course, leadership. First, pacing matters. You don't have to sprint, but you have to keep moving. And it doesn't matter if you're moving slow as long as you're moving forward. And there are days when I'm out there running and it'll feel like I'm running like 9.5 minute miles. And I'll look down at my watch and it says I'm running a 13-minute mile, which is kind of slow for me. And, but you still keep moving and you still keep growing. And the next thing is discomfort isn't failure. It's just part of progress. And in fact, the act of being uncomfortable is what makes us grow. And you're going to feel that while you're running or doing anything that is new to you, something that you want to do. And the finish line isn't the goal. I mean, it kind of is. It's what's going to help you to be motivated, but it's the journey itself. That's what changes you. And so, yeah, I felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment when I finished that half marathon, but it wasn't the ending that I remember. It was how I felt during. And I think that's what's so very important. And so I would encourage you to use this concept of running that I told you to go do something hard and set benchmarks for yourself throughout. Like me, I had the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, and those things are deadlines, things that I've paid money for, that I've signed up for, that are going to help me to grow, and they'll help me to know how to plan for my goals and the various steps, and use resources like apps and trainers and whatever else that you're doing. If you're trying to write a book or if you're trying to compose a piece of music or something like that. But there is a balance here, and there's a balance between resilience, discipline, and enjoyment. And for me, running has been something that has brought me to that place. So that's it for today. Keep sharpening your body, your mind, and your purpose. Together, we are forged in the blade. We lead with edge. Until next time, stay sharp.